Hello everyone, welcome to WNT. If you are interested in what truly lies behind the decisions shaping the world, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Today, we are looking at what appears to be an ordinary trade deal. On Monday, US President Donald Trump announced on social media, following a phone call with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, a trade agreement with India that cuts US tariffs on Indian goods from 50% to 18%. In return, India agreed to halt purchases of Russian oil and reduce trade barriers.
India will now buy oil from the United States and potentially from Venezuela as well. It has chosen to step back from Russian oil imports and gradually replace them with alternative sources. The deal also includes a commitment by India to significantly increase purchases of U.S. energy, technology, agricultural products, and other goods. Financial markets reacted immediately and positively. Indian stocks and the rupee strengthened as investors viewed the deal as a form of stabilization after a period of harsh tariffs that had severely damaged India's economy and driven away foreign capital. However, there are still no clear timelines, no official documents, and no precise details on how quickly India is expected to phase out Russian oil. While large corporations and financial markets are celebrating, small U.S. businesses are warning that an 18% tariff is still far higher than before, and that they will ultimately bear the cost. This entire situation highlights one key reality. Tariffs have become a tool of pressure, and oil has turned into a currency of political loyalty. This is no longer a world of negotiation. It is a world where trade is used as political leverage. Oil today, defense tomorrow, and something else the day after. And if anyone in Europe believes this does not concern them, they should think again. A model that works is always copied. From the U.S. perspective, this represents a short-term strategic win. For India, it is a costly compromise. And for the rest of the world, it is a clear signal of where global trade and international relations are heading. While the world talks about trade, tariffs, and oil, Ukraine faced one of the harshest attacks of this winter overnight. Early in the morning on Tuesday, February 3, 2026, NATO fighter jets had to scramble over Poland after Russia launched a massive combined attack on Ukraine. Drones, cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, the full package. The targets? Kyiv, Kharkiv, the Dnipropetrovsk, Sumy, and Odessa regions. Above all, energy infrastructure and residential buildings. According to Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha, the attack involved more than 450 drones and over 60 missiles. It came at a time when temperatures in Ukraine had dropped below 20 degrees Celsius. Some might call that cruel. In Kyiv, more than 1,000 high-rise buildings were left without heating. In Kharkiv, large parts of the city were without power for several hours. In the Odessa region, tens of thousands of people were left without electricity. And while Ukraine is freezing, Poland is scrambling fighter jets, activating radars and air defense systems, sending a clear message. This war may be fought on Ukrainian territory, but its security consequences are no longer Ukraine's alone. If anyone still believes that Russia attacks only military targets, someone should explain that a kindergarten or an apartment block is not a tank. The goal is simple: to exhaust the civilian population, increase pressure on the government, and test how long the West will remain willing to help. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky strongly condemned the overnight attack, emphasizing that the strikes targeted energy facilities and residential areas, thereby increasing civilian suffering and undermining efforts toward peace. He called on Western allies to strengthen air defense systems and increase pressure on Russia to end the war. U.S. President Trump had previously stated that Russia had promised a pause in attacks on Kyiv due to extreme winter conditions, but according to reports, this pause was later withdrawn. No official Russian statement regarding this specific attack has been published so far. NATO and its leadership continued to express support for Ukraine. Is this still war or already targeted terror against civilians?
Now let's move on to another topic. This time it's not about a front line, but about a negotiating table. And it's not about who wins, but about whether another war can be avoided at all. You may have noticed that this week a meeting is expected to take place where representatives of the United States and Iran are set to meet face to face. Not at the United Nations, not under the bright lights of New York, but relatively quietly in Istanbul. From everything we know, this won't be some grand historic peace deal with handshakes and hugs. It looks much more like a firefighting meeting. In other words, let's at least try to talk. My impression is that the main issue will be how to avoid a disaster. The United States does not want another open conflict in the Middle East. It already has more than enough on its plate. Iran, on the other hand, has no interest in a direct confrontation with America.
So the discussion will most likely focus on where the red lines are, who can provoke and where, and above all, how to make sure that no local incident turns into something no one can stop. And why is half the region at the table? When Iran, the US, and countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Egypt, or the UAE sit together, it looks more like a family meeting where everyone is afraid one uncle might flip the table. All of these countries share one common interest: that things don't spiral out of control. Because a war between Iran and the US would be exactly the kind of conflict everyone would pay for, except those who actually decide about it. My personal estimate? There will be no major deal, no historic gesture, just some statement about dialogue and continuing talks. Something along the lines of, "We won't solve it now, but at least we won't fight." And honestly, in today's situation, that may be the maximum possible success. Thank you for watching until the end. That's all for today. The world is changing fast, and we'll continue to follow what's being said, what it really means, and what consequences may actually follow. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and don't miss the next episodes. Take care, keep a broader perspective, and we'll see you in the next video.